our 5 members who have volunteered to do lightning rounds, which lightning rounds are great. You can learn a lot in 5 minutes, but it's a lot of pressure on the presenter to be well prepared and organized so that they can tell us all the amazing work that they've done in 5 minutes. And you have all of us cheering you on, and I really look forward to hearing about these projects. Mary Jo is going to start us off. Mary Jo is one of our long-term board members, and she is the Knowledge Resources Librarian at Nuvance Health at Vassar Brothers Medical Center. And today she's going to talk about tracking research outcomes in hospital library settings. It's a pilot study that she's working on. Thanks, Mary Jo.
Okay, thank you, Tessa, and good morning, everyone. And thank you, Lauren, for coming and sharing with us today. We really appreciate you being with us and for engaging us and making us think. Thank you so much. Outcomes of research requests in hospital library settings. We set out 3 of us in January to start this pilot. We wanted to see how the research request coming into a hospital library setting is applied. What are the outcomes? So these are the 3 hospital settings. First is myself. I'm the Knowledge Resources Librarian. I'm at Vassar Brothers Medical Center, which is a regional medical center and part of a 4-hospital system. And we have 628 beds in that system. Frank Appel is the medical staff librarian at Good Samaritan Hospital. He's part of an acute care medical hospital that has 268 beds. And our 3rd librarian is Mary Allison Farley. She's the hospital librarian at Ellenville Regional Hospital. And Ellenville is a little bit different. They're a critical access hospital with 25 beds. And what that means is that patients come in either to the ER or into one of their patient rooms to be treated and released, or stabilized and transferred to a regional medical center. So the 3 of us decided that we would start this pilot project. And what we wanted to do is look at research requests coming into our hospital libraries. So think of us as reference librarians on steroids. This is what we do. This is the crux of who we are and what we provide. Connecting our users with the research they need for improving patient care. And we wanted to look at those different research requests in a way that allowed us to compare. So first of all, we created the research categories. Where do those requests fit in? What categories do they fit in? Then we wanted to track those research requests across all 3 hospitals in those very different settings. And then we wanted to compare. Are they similar? Are the outcomes different because of different settings, or are they very similar because we're all in hospitals? So why would we want to do something like that? And that is just to take a look at consistency in outcomes. If we have research requests coming into our libraries, are they similar? Are they different? Where are they being applied? And how can we best then partner with our people who are asking us for this research? And so we compiled what we were able to bring together from January all the way through May. And just to start out with a comment here that, of course, the month of April pretty much refocused us on research involving COVID-19. So over 35% of our research requests coming in the month of April were specific to COVID-19 research requests, and that would be expected. But that also means that there's another whole percentage of research requests that can continue to come into us that had nothing to do with COVID-19. So there's a lot of different things happening in the hospital that involve us to be able to partner with our physicians, with our directors, with our managers, and get them the best information that they need. So when we look at these 3 hospital systems and we look at the settings, we realize right away that the top category is patient care, and that would be expected. But in Ellenville, the top categories after patient care would be policy and protocol and best practices. So in a small hospital setting, they're looking at, are our policies up to date? Are we doing the best practice? So that's important to them. At Good Samaritan Hospital, we see that 2 big categories that stand out besides patient care would be professional interest and also policy and protocol. So once again, the policy and protocol shows up, but in his setting, professional interest becomes very important. The professionals looking for the information that they need to make their best decisions. Also in his hospital setting class assignments. So a lot of professionals on staff are going back to school, they're advancing their degrees, and so there's a lot of interest in finding their information. So class assignments for him are another big category. For me, in a 4-hospital system, the requests tend to spread across all the different categories because I have more different people asking me from different hospital settings. So I end up with requests across to quite a wide variety. But one of the things that stands out to me as a 4-hospital system librarian is that a lot of the requests that come in are for best practices. Are we doing the right thing? Is this the best practice? And we want to make sure that in a 4-hospital system, our practices all are aligned for positive patient care. So the next step in this pilot is to continue this tracking for the entire year. We'd like to look at January through December and continue to do these tallies, continue to put them into these categories. And our goal is to come back to SUNYCon in 2021 and give you a comprehensive year-long review of this very topic. So thank you very much, and I hope that was interesting to all of you.
Thank you, Mary Jo. I love that you brought up SUNYCon, so it's good. We'll do it again, and we look forward to the follow-up. Amy Schuler is the Director of Information Services and the Library at the Cary Institute of Ecosystem Studies. Today, Amy's going to talk about the Hudson River research in the age of COVID-19.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here, and again, thanks to everybody who went before me. These have been great, really great presentations so far. So today, I'm not going to talk so much about my experiences as a science librarian at the Cary Institute. I'm going to talk more about how our work has changed. Specifically, one sort of iconic program has changed during the age of COVID. So I have sort of a prepared statement, and then this is basically just a slideshow as I speak. And since it's kind of prepared, if I'm a little stilted, I apologize. For the past 30 years at the Cary Institute, where I am the Director of Information Services in the library, we have maintained a monitoring program on the Hudson River at 6 discrete sampling stations from Albany to Haverstraw Bay. We feel this type of long-term monitoring is essential to better understand and protect the health and stability of the river ecosystem. And this work is supported by, I think I said this, the National Science Foundation. So this spring, the Cary Institute petitioned the New York State Department of Economic Development, ESD, that's the Empire State Development Office, to request an exemption to allow us to continue our environmental monitoring program on the Hudson River. And we were granted the exemption to continue our basic routine monitoring program. So we've put in place protocols to limit the number of people involved in accomplishing this research. We've prioritized the safety of the 2 personnel doing the field work by having them drive separately to the launch sites, and we've provided each of them with proper PPE to limit any possible exposure to the SARS-CoV-2 virus. PPE is worn from the moment they reach the launch site until they depart. Distance is maintained on the boat as much as possible, which, as you can imagine, it gets a little tight. The samples are then returned to the lab, and only one of the personnel processes and stores the samples to the Cary Institute. Movement and time spent within the lab building is also limited to the extent possible. And I can tell you that I've only been in the building once since the middle of March, and it is very tightly controlled. We've only been delayed by 2 weeks in getting this year's fieldwork started. This exemption has also allowed us to, lost track of myself, has also allowed us to maintain an additional monitoring program, which is a collaboration between Cary, the DEC, and the USGS. At the same time that we are able to sample our research sites, we are able to perform maintenance on associated RECOS sites. And RECOS is an acronym. It stands for the Hudson River Environmental Conditions Observing System. It's very helpful to limit the number and duration. And you can see I get to pinch hit sometimes on the boat, which is awesome. It's very helpful to limit the number and duration of gaps in data collection. Our experience so far indicates that we should be able to maintain the integrity of both of these monitoring programs in this uncertain climate. And here I have some sort of useful, hopefully, sites where you can learn more about the river that we love, and we hope you do too. And we're very grateful that this exemption lets us continue to do our work.
Thank you, Amy, so much for that. It's fascinating what you do there. Thank you for sharing. It shows all the different work being done at all of our member libraries. It's such a variety. Up next, Josephine Bloodgood is the Director of Curatorial and Preservation Affairs at Historic Huguenot Street. They have a grant-funded project that she's going to share with us today, NEH-Funded Planning for the Digitization of New Paltz's Historic Documents. So Josephine, I'm so glad you're with us.
So anyway, thanks Tessa, and thanks to all the other speakers for your presentations. It's a great pleasure to speak to you guys today. I'm so grateful for the amazing work that Southeastern does, and so this is a real honor. My name is Josephine. I'm with Historic Huguenot Street. I'll be talking to you today about a project to digitize the historic documents of New Paltz, New York. The project was funded by the National Endowment for Humanities through a Humanities Collections and Reference Resources grant. For those of you who don't know us, Historic Huguenot Street is a 10-acre National Historic Landmark District in New Paltz. Most of our stone houses date to the early 1700s. In addition to a large collection of historic furnishings and decorative arts, we have an important archive of historic documents going back to the 1600s, as well as a research library. Both our archives and the library are very ably managed by our archivist and librarian, Cary. So I started at HHS about 6 years ago as I began to do more and more research about the stories related to our site and the town of New Paltz. It was obvious that these stories could not be understood through our archives alone. Exhibits, tours, and programs depend on information gleaned from the early records of the town of New Paltz, which HHS has cared for and managed for decades, the archives of the Reformed Church, and the many amazing resources available at the Haviland Heidgerd Historical Collection at the Elting Memorial Library. A prime example of how these collections intersect is an online exhibit I just finished on Jane Dia Winecoop, a woman born into slavery in New Paltz and who later became the first African-American to buy land in the town. The exhibit could not have been done without reference to the collections of these other institutions. First, we have Jane's birth record in the Register of Slaves from the town. Then we have her marriage record from 1827, just 7 months before emancipation, in the records of the Reformed Church. And then we have Jane's death record recorded by a friend in a journal in the Haviland Heidgerd collection. So I hope you'll check out this exhibit. You can find it through our website. And by the way, special shout out to Jen and Zach at Southeastern for really helping to make our initiatives with new online exhibits possible. There have been many other examples of ways that the collections intersect, and there have been many collaborations in the past. The Jane Dia Winecoop exhibit is definitely not the first, but based on the overlap in the collections in 2017, I approached the town, the church, and Carol Johnson at the Haviland Heidgerd collection to discuss a joint effort to digitize and preserve our 4 collections. We agreed to apply for an NEH-HCRR Foundation's planning grant. Of course, I need to mention that we have a 5th partner, and this partner is very important. Again, it's Southeastern. And Jen has been an amazing advisor throughout the planning process. And I'm so grateful for her help. I can't say enough about the work that Jen and Southeastern do. And so here's our group. We were awarded the grant in 2018 and began a 2-year planning process. There are 3 essential parts to the planning. First, there was a review by a team of scholars to evaluate and prioritize collections. Secondly, a team of 3 conservators surveyed the collections for condition and special handling needs. And finally, we worked with a digitization specialist to develop a written plan and set of procedures to ensure the safe and professional handling of the documents during the digitization process. The scholars visit took place in July of 2018, and the conservators and digitization specialists made site visits in the spring of 2019. We completed the review of the reports and began laying out the implementation project in early 2020. We are now moving forward with an implementation request to the NEH. Our implementation request is for the conservation of documents before and special handling during the image capturing, as well as to hire a full-time digital librarian on a contract basis for 3 years to manage the project and do the metadata, uploading to Content DM, etc. Because of the sheer quantity of the collections, we are taking a phased approach to the project. The first phase will address the earliest documents starting in the 1600s and continue through around 1830. We plan to apply to the NEH and or other sources for a second phase to digitize documents with dates in the 19th century and into the early 20th century. So the final deadline for the NEH HCRR grant, and that's both for planning and implementation projects, is July 15th. If anyone's feeling particularly prepared, you still have about 6 weeks to put together an application. NEH loves collaboration. So if you're a larger organization with a commitment to preservation and accessibility, I think this is a great way to involve institutions with related collections and help get those available too.
Thank you so much, Josephine. I wish you all the luck getting it done, and I know how much work that must be, and I hope you get it. We're all rooting for New Paltz, rooting for you. Thank you for the presentation. It was very informative. Chrissy O'Grady is up next. Chrissy is the Research and Education Librarian at SUNY New Paltz. She's going to be talking about shifting library programming from in-person to virtual and doing our best and thinking creatively. So Chrissy, welcome.
Hello, can everyone hear me? Okay,
Sounds
perfect. Good. So hello, everyone. My name is Chrissy O'Grady, and I'm a Research and Education Librarian at SUNY New Paltz. So the COVID-19 pandemic has altered the way our libraries provide services and programming to our patrons. So when my library officially closed on March 20th, I had 2 library programs in progress that I was working on. This presentation will focus on how the Sojourner Truth Library shifted those in-person programs to an online format, emphasizing collaboration and utilizing existing online features. So the 2 programs I was in the process of working on were our monthly book displays and our special Poetry Month Poem in Your Pocket event. So I usually curate 2 book displays a month with the help of colleagues and student employees. And then I had recently taken over our annual Poem in Your Pocket event from a colleague and had been working and promoting the event since February. So instead of shelving the projects, I worked collaboratively with our student employees and our library technology team to alter our monthly book displays and our Poem in Your Pocket event to our new online environment. So when I decided to try and find a way to make it all virtual, I told myself 2 things. 1, to just do my best, and 2, to think creatively, to think outside the box. And this is an incredibly stressful time. I'm no longer just referring to COVID, but to anti-police brutality and anti-racism demonstrations that are happening across the world, across the US. It is not the time to put a lot of pressure on yourself or someone else to do the same sort of programming that you did in person. And it's also probably not the time to try to create something completely new. So I told myself to just simply work with my colleagues as best as I can and to be creative and to do my best when approaching turning things virtual. So I hope that everyone listening here also just tries to do their best and to think creatively and to not stress out too much about shifting things virtual. So I'm going to get into the show and tell portion and show you how we adapted the two programs to our online environment. So first step is our book displays. So this one was fairly easy for me to envision online. We use SpringShare LibGuides at STL, and LibGuides has the ability to create a gallery view content boxes, which I thought would be great for a virtual book display, and you can see that on the screen now. Student employees usually help curate those physical displays, so I enlisted their help with the virtual ones as well. I provided them with editor LibGuide accounts and detailed instructions for selecting and curating the display page within the LibGuide. And since the library building is closed and we're all distance learning, all of the books that are in the displays are ebooks. So up next is our virtual poem in your pocket. This one was a bit more tricky to envision virtually. I had about 40 community authored poems that were submitted for the event, and I did not want them to go uncelebrated. So our library website has a new book feature that resembles our tornado. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but it's basically just a new book spinning rotation display. So I was looking at it one day and I was like, that would be a really cool way to showcase the pocket poems that we received. So I emailed our library technology team and just asked them if there was any way to create a spinning poem tornado. And my colleague Cary jumped right on board. He said, send me one of the poems, I'll mock it up, I'll see what I can do. And within a few hours, he sent me a fully mocked up pocket poem tornado. And he did something which was amazing. We usually print the poems on the back of old catalog cards. So Cary actually put let me X out of that. So Cary actually laid an index card background onto the pocket poems, so it made it look like they were actually index cards. So a student employee with a background in design helped me format the poems and lay the index card on the background. We then sent them all to Cary, who created this amazing spinning pocket poem tornado that hopefully you see on the screen now. Cary put a random poem generator button in the corner, and he made it so that you can actually click on a poem and view it full screen. So the virtual poem in your pocket tornado was shared on our faculty staff listserv and also on our campus daily newsletter. It received really great reviews and I hope celebrated the community authored poets. So thank you so much for listening. Please remember to do your best and be creative during this stressful time. And as we continue to operate virtually and hopefully very slowly start to open our doors, feel free to email or call me to chat further about these initiatives.
Thank you, Chrissy. Our final presentation this morning is from Grace Zimmermann from Somers Historical Society and Christine Drysdale, who's a library media specialist at Somers High School. And they're going to talk today about collecting primary source COVID-19 pandemic arts.
I'm Grace Zimmermann. I'm Vice President of Somers Historical Society, and I'm here today with Christine Drysdale, who is the library media specialist librarian at Somers High School. And we want to share just a little bit about how we've been working together to document and the COVID-19 pandemic. And it's a very fluid project, so I don't know how to say there will be an end, but this was our process. I'm going to change slide. Basically, it was almost serendipitous how it happened. We were looking at Historical Society, looking as a way to collect information from the community about the COVID-19 pandemic, because we are a collecting institution and we are a repository. So at the same time, Christine was looking for a a way to teach students because of course they, like everybody else, had experienced a lockdown. So I will let Christine take it from here.
Hi, good morning. It's great to be here with you all. Yeah, this is my first year as the library media specialist. So obviously, you know, so much was new for me anyway, but suddenly when all students were home, I was looking for new ways to be able to create authentic, engaging, remote student activities. And the idea of kind of capturing our stories and creating primary sources seemed like a really good opportunity to teach students what primary sources are through the creation of them. So I reached out to Grace, and we just immediately started kind of brainstorming. And the great thing that really, I think, helped us move this along quickly was that Grace mentioned that there was already a questionnaire from the Association of the Public Historians. So we had this like foundation to build from. So I took that existing New York questionnaire and I adapted it to our high school audience using Microsoft Forms. And then we kind of brainstormed privacy issues because we knew that that would probably be the biggest barrier. So we decided that we would only collect student first names and grades, and that all the surveys would come to me first so that I could scrub them clean if for some reason there was something that might be a privacy issue. And once we had that plan, then I went to the Assistant Superintendent of Learning, and it was really quickly approved and embraced. So I think that was like a huge success, the idea of starting by having that privacy addressed immediately. So I built a website within my page within my website as an immediate repository. And as I got student questionnaires, created them into PDFs and uploaded them immediately and said which date that they were available, that it was updated. And then Grace took that link and shared it on the Somers Historical Society site. So this was what our page looked like. And our successes so far is that the assistant superintendent did expand it to our other 3 schools. So, and it's all being done at different levels. We really did raise awareness with students about primary sources, what the role of a school librarian can be, and the fact that we have these great local historians and repositories. We've received some local media coverage, and Grace and I built new great relationships, and she'll talk a little bit more about the next steps for her as well. And I'll include this link, so if you'd like to go to the page and see the students that have contributed as well.
Our next steps are rather open-ended. I've been to a number of Southeastern SIG groups. Thank you very much, Tessa, and everybody for organizing them, but we're just in the collecting phase. So this is a wonderful opportunity for us to collect this kind of information from the academic community, if you will, in Somers, because we are going to expand it to the faculty and to the administrators. We've approached the chamber and other organizations in group, and we're collecting. We're going to see where this gets us. We have a feeling, we had a conversation earlier, that there are a lot of other things that are going to possibly evolve into this archive, what with the protests and everything going on now, but we're just, eventually we'll digitize some things, maybe not everything, as we can't in our collection, and see if we can do some kind of an online exhibit. Tentatively, we were looking to do something in October because it is Archives Month. We'll probably have some kind of a formal presentation or mention of the relationship that we have now with the school district at that point, and sort of a turning over, if you will, to the archives so people understand that relationship. But and in short, it's again, it's very fluid and open-ended, and it's wonderful because now we both, Christine and I, understand each other's capabilities and resources. So I can't speak enough to those that are in either a library at a high school or in a school district and a historical society to reach out to one another, because I think it's a wonderful multiplier effect going forward. And these are some of the lessons we learned. I think we're going to play maybe a few seconds of this, one of the submissions, which I think you'll find pretty interesting.
Yeah, we did, because we offered the questionnaire, but we also we asked for any kind of documentation, and we had some students create this video.
I watched on Twitter, it came up my feed of Cuomo's like speech, and it reminded me of like ones that we listened to in US history. And it was...
Right now we're living through a historic moment. So to document it, I asked my friends a couple questions about their lives right now. Let's get started with, what's your name and can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So this video, just for the sake of time, it's embedded. So, and I'll make sure the link is there for anyone who wants to watch it. So that was, other students went above and beyond in offering some pictures and videos. So thanks for your time. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us.
Yes, and if I could just say one thing, I want to thank Christine and Tessa for doing a wonderful job here today. And just in case you don't know where we're located, we're in northern Westchester County in Somers, New York. And Somers Historical Society is a heritage member of Southeastern and has been for over 10 years. And it started because of our collection. So just so you all know where we're coming from.